Well, hello everyone. Like we said, trying to do these video updates to keep everyone in the loop. Right now, we are going to tell the story of Mazie's birth because people want to know exactly what happened and like how it went and how did we get this little Sasquatchy baby out of my body. So, here we go. So, on Sunday night, last week, May 3rd, we went in at 7:30 at night to get induced.
Wait a second. Oh no, alright.
Previously my body had been like contracting and we were kind of like at a centimeter, but it was really tight. I don't know. But my body was ready to have Mazie, and one of our ultrasounds, she was measuring kind of big, and so there was definitely the talk of like, okay, you don't really know how big your baby is, and you don't really know if she'll fit out until you try. Like, the only way you would know if they're too big to get out is to try. So, we were being induced on Sunday, and we went to the hospital and got all ready and got all set. And tiny side story, and I told this story like so many times to all the nurses because I felt really stupid. So when we got there, they were like, okay, gown up. And I got in my gown, no pants of course, and I was really, really, really nervous about the nurse seeing my butt crack. Let that sink in for a little bit. Having a baby. And that's just, I waited in the bathroom like a little bit because I'm like, that nurse is gonna see my butt. So, once we got all settled in and got into bed, got hooked up to the IV, they gave me a pill which was meant to dilate my cervix so we could get the show on the road and start opening up to have her. And so we did that kind of at 9 o'clock, and then they told us like, okay, you're gonna want to go to sleep because the dilation pill, you take one every 4 hours, and at the end of whatever, like in the morning, we will come and check you and see where we're at. You could be where you are at 1-ish, or you could be ready to go. We don't know. We'll see in the morning. So, they woke me up a couple times in the night, of course, to take more of the dilation medication. And then finally, at 6 in the morning, it began. At 6 in the morning is when I started feeling contractions, but like the regular, like that is definitely a contraction, and then it would let go. And then again, that is definitely a contraction. It would last for a minute, and they were pretty consistent, and they hurt. They don't feel good. Yeah, they don't feel good. So then around 6:30-ish, I got up to use the bathroom, and lo and behold, there was a puddle in my bed. So my water had broke. Yay. No, they didn't break it, so that my body did that naturally. Go body. Awesome job. And then when I went to the bathroom, I was losing my mucus plug, which also naturally, yay natural, which was really weird because like I'd been researching and reading and seeing like all these signs of like, okay, you're going into labor, and to actually like feel them for the first time, like feel them, I guess you only feel your water break once, but actually feeling that, it was like, okay, this is real. Oh.
Well, before they even got, like, feeling your contractions before they even gave you the Pitocin.
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing. Thank you. At this point, no Pitocin at all. Just the dilation pill. And yeah, just the dilation pill. So my body had started that process by itself. So then, contractions were starting to become more consistent. They started to become like every 4-ish minutes, and they came in and they're like, okay, you're still at a 1, so what we want you to do is like maybe try to eat some breakfast, take a shower. What else did they tell us to do? Something else. They told us to do something else. I don't remember, but
Peanut medicine ball. I
oh,
can't remember.
yeah,
It was the
right.
medicine ball.
No, the peanut ball. And so we ordered
Medicine ball. Yoga ball.
We ordered breakfast of yogurt and fruit, and I literally had like 1 bite of yogurt because when you're contracting, you can't do life, and so good job for having a bite of yogurt. And then I took a shower, and that was just awful. The way the tubs are designed, like there's a giant lip all the way around it, so water was going everywhere. The water was like actually kind of like not even lukewarm, it was warm cold, and I'm contracting, so literally I'm just standing in the shower crying and being like, why am I in the shower?
Come to find out afterwards, it just takes a very long time to heat up.
Yeah, it literally takes like 5 minutes to let it run first. So, and also, like I said, the lip was kind of weird, so at this point, water is just going everywhere, and we flooded the bathroom.
Just, I had to like, kind of dam up areas, and even then still I looked at the door after the fact when Carly got situated back in the bed, and I look at the door and it's just slowly running out.
So that's all happening while like my body's trying to kill me, and I just become hyper focused on things, and I'm like, oh no, I heard, but we flooded the bathroom. I was just an ugly crying mess. So after the shower, this beautiful nurse, we had a lot of amazing nurses while we were in the hospital. We'll talk about a couple of them, but this one nurse, her name's Brenda, and oh my god, this woman is amazing. Shout out to Brenda. Our shout outs. But she was amazing, and once we got the shower fiasco figured out, I talked about how like I really want to move around to help my contractions and help the progression. How can we do that? And so she got us set up on this peanut ball thing, and we tried doing that, but the way that my belly was shaped and whatnot, and the way that little lady was in there, they put these probes on you so they can hear baby's heartbeat, and then they can also track contractions.
They're calling them paddles.
They are called paddles, thank you. They wouldn't stay on my body correctly. They kept flipping, or they would slide.
Baby would move.
Mazie would move. A lot of it, more often than not, Mazie would move. Once I'd get like perfectly still, she'd move, and then it's like you can't hear her. So I couldn't do the peanut ball for very long because they need to hear baby's heartbeat, and they needed to know like how she was doing, and so I only got to be on the peanut ball for like what, maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah. If that.
And so, because of the paddles, they didn't straight out say, like, you have to be in bed. But they kind of were like, well, we need to hear baby, and every time you move, the paddles fall off. So, so we were in bed, laboring. And at this point, it's like, 10 o'clock-ish. And at 10, they started the Pitocin. And Pitocin, for some of you who might not know, is a synthetic form of oxytocin, which is the happy hormone that your body produces, or the love hormone that kicks your body into labor. And so they put that in my IV, and it goes by levels. Once again, I wasn't paying attention this much to this, but
I mean, for lack of a better term, the pump, if you will, that was administering the Pitocin. It had like levels, and don't know the number, but basically like 1 through 10 is what I could. I don't know if that's the most serious, but initially it was only reading it like they had it going in at like a 2. For the longest time, actually, just to kind of help her body start hopefully getting the contractions a little bit more level.
But here's another kicker: they had me at like a 2-ish, but they couldn't increase the Pitocin because they couldn't monitor baby. Brief baby intermission, and then there's this baby too.
This baby too,
Okay.
And camera battery died. That didn't help. Talking for a long time.
Here we go. So, at about 12 o'clock, like I was talking about, the pads or the paddles weren't staying on my belly, so at 12 o'clock they said, okay, we want to put a internal monitor in, which is a monitor that attaches to the top of the head so that they could effectively monitor baby. And when you're at like a 1 and they need to take this probe and effectively get it through the hole of a 1 and put it on the head while you're contracting, not the easiest thing to do. As a matter of fact, it really hurts. Really, really hurts. And so, I've never screamed in pain before. But,
That was pretty bad.
I screamed in pain. It's probably, hands down, the worst thing that I've ever felt in my entire life. It was awful. And also, it was awful because the nicest nurse in the world was doing it to me, and I felt really bad because I couldn't relax my body enough to let it happen. And so,
Well, just from what the nurse was saying, she's like, I know, it's just, you gotta try to relax because your body's fighting me.
yeah. So the nurse tried, and then a little bit later, our doctor came in, and we were talking about, like, we need to monitor the baby because it's not safe to be on Pitocin, and it's not safe to not monitor her. And so, with the help of our nurse, Dr. Breen, and then my amazing coach right here, they got the probe on, but it wasn't as secure as they would have liked it because, like, they barely got it on. And so, but that being said, like, I still wanted to move to hopefully help contractions, but since I now had this internal monitor, there was definitely no way to really get out of bed, because otherwise the monitor would have fallen off. So, with that being said, finally, usually they don't do epidurals when you're at only 1. They like to hopefully wait as long as we possibly can and do the epidural at like 5 centimeters, 4 centimeters. That is ideal. But if I can't really move to help the dilation, if I'm already bedbound because of the probe, my doctor finally gave me the okay to get the wonderful, amazing epidural, which is awesome.
Nectar of forgiveness.
Yes, it was great. The process of getting the epidural itself was kind of spooky because you really have to not think about what it is, this giant needle going into your back and administering medicine that could potentially paralyze you if it doesn't work right and if you don't hold still whilst contracting, you know, it's great. But my amazing coach, Taylor, it was really awesome and really helpful for him to be right on that other side, keeping me focused, helping me relax as best as we could, helping me bend while still contracting.
She was sitting on the bed, sitting up, and I was just standing in front of her, kind of holding her shoulders and just walking her through when she had a contraction, and she had to let everybody know she was having a contraction. So if they were in the middle of something and Carly couldn't quite handle the contraction totally, they would just be aware and be careful that a contraction was coming. And I was also there to kind of help her work through that, but also to keep her focused on keeping her body posture the right way so that epidural was done properly and it would take.
Yeah. So we finally got the epidural, and life was great. Like, life was amazing. I quickly found out with the epidural that it works with gravity. So they set me on one side, and I was there for probably about an hour, and I could feel the other side still contracting and still hurting, and so we quickly flipped me to the other side, and so then it was evenly distributed, and life was great. Life was amazing. My body relaxed. They inserted the catheter because you can't walk when you have the epidural. And so they got that in, and then they put another probe in that monitors contractions. So like I was talking about earlier, one paddle for baby's heartbeat, another paddle for contractions. But with the paddle on your tummy, it only tells you when you're contracting. It doesn't tell you the intensity of it. And so once they put the internal probe in for contractions, then they can see, okay, it lasts this long and it's happening at this time, but then it could also tell how intense they were. So that was great. But also through all of this, it's about 1:30 p.m.-ish. Still at a 1. Didn't, even though my body was relaxed, I was relaxed. I took a nap. We played half a game of crib. Through that, still at a 1. Then they checked me again at 5:30, and we were at 4 centimeters, which is fine and dandy. Motorcycle outside.
A big old diesel truck. Dogs are protecting us.
Active labor is at 5 centimeters. So we've still gone through about 11-ish hours of labor. And we're not even in active labor, which we knew going in for an induction. We knew that it was going to take longer and it was going to be a painful process. Like, that was not anything that was going to be a surprise. But with my water breaking naturally, like my doctor didn't break my water, that means like we only have a time frame to we only have a certain time frame to get her out before things get bad. And so if my water had not broken on its own, our doctor would have broken it, hopefully at a specific amount of dilation, but also with the level of like, or how slowly I was progressing, or not progressing rather, they might have even sent us home because of just how slowly my body was not dilating.
Progressive.
Yeah, progressive. So 4 centimeters at 5:30. There you go. Then, so 4 centimeters at 5:30. We were just having a great old time, hanging out. We'd ordered a liquid tray for me to consume, which is a great old snack tray of Jello, broth, and juice, which was super awesome. Hung out a little more. During this whole time, we had been FaceTiming my family and keeping them updated because, once again, they can't be there. And so, FaceTime them a lot.
Nurses kept coming in during the FaceTimes, and
yeah,
that was fun.
Showing my parents, look at this amazing woman. She's taking care of me. That was great. Taylor was updating his family through the whole thing as well.
My family, her family, friends, and
yes,
because Carly wasn't able to all the time text and communicate. It had been a while, and so I was, along with Carly, being in a group chat with, the families, but I was in a group chat with Carly and this friend and that friend, and it was a lot of different people to try and keep updated, and in the know, and especially Maria too.
Shout out to Maria, house at the dogs. But still hanging out at 4 centimeters, and then they came back in a couple hours later, checked me and said, okay, you're at 4 centimeters still. We're okay right now, but they just kept reminding us, like, once your water breaks, you can get infected, you can't spike a fever, and we don't want that. That is not safe. So, our doctor told us that, checked me, and she said, like, I'm gonna go home and we're gonna see how you are in a couple hours. Well, we started visiting and talking about just life and cribbage and all this other stuff. And just coincidentally, she was probably there for like an extra hour. And then after that, they took my vitals again. And sure enough, I started spiking a fever. And so then...
She was consulting her mentor as well. Our doctor was consulting her mentor. And finally, he came in with our doctor.
And they said, let's have a C-section.
Round 3.
Yep, we're gonna update you guys. Whether it kills us or not, we are going to get everyone on.
We had to stop again. Baby explosion.
Yeah, almost blow up, but we're good.
We're good.
So our doctor came back in with her mentor and said, let's have a C-section. Or no, she didn't say let's have a C-section, but she gave us the options of going forward and doing C-section, or waiting a little bit longer to see if my body would progress anymore. But I mean, at that point, we're at a 4. We'd already been doing it for like 13-ish hours, 14-ish hours. So safest way, C-section. Which in my house, with my family, a C-section was normalized. Like, that's how I was born, and for a really long time, like, I just thought like that's how babies were born in general. And so like I'd already researched, I'd already watched videos of like what happens during a C-section, what are some of the benefits, what are some of the downfalls, and so just having that knowledge prior to going into it, I honestly, like, going into it, I honestly wasn't that scared or nervous. Like, obviously, if you think about what it is, them cutting you open, like all the way cutting you open to get out the little baby, that kind of freaked me out. But on the surface, I was okay with it. I was ready for it. And so we said, okay, let's just do a C-section. And then they started prepping me. They gave me a couple medications. They gave me a couple medications, and they have to prep the area for the C-section. And so, remember that nurse that I was so nervous about showing my butt to? Same nurse shaved me up down there to get me ready for my C-section. So while she was doing that, I'm like, I have to be honest with you. I was so nervous yesterday for you to see my butt, and here we are now. She's like, yeah, girlfriend, we're close now. I'm like, awesome, thanks. So they got me all prepped up, and and then they also gave Taylor his like suit and booties and all that jazz, and he got ready right away. Then we have to update the parents, tell them what's going on, and I think that was one of the hardest things, like mentally, that I've ever had to do, because I've never had surgery.
And they weren't there.
And my family wasn't there, and with modern medicine, obviously I'm not gonna die, but like if something goes wrong, if whatever, they weren't there, and it was like really hard to tell them like, okay, we're finally having our baby, but just not the way we planned. She's just gonna be taken out. That was kind of scary. But no turning back now. Like, that's literally it was the safest way to get her out. So
That, like, before, because they think they wheeled her back at about
9-ish.
9:20.
Yeah, 9:20.
Quarter after 9, somewhere around there. And so the nurses came in, and the anesthesiologist came into just to our room. They got me my scrubs to throw on, and they were getting Carly ready, giving her this and that, to get, prepped to get the anesthetic on board to kind of numb her. And I'd gotten everything all thrown on and ready to go before she was even wheeled out of the room, and it felt like forever, but I think I was sitting in the room just pacing back and forth for a good 30, 45 minutes
like
before
after they rolled
they rolled you out. And finally they came and got me, and went in for the C-section, and they started doing their thing. And what the nurses were telling me is that she did a really awesome job. She was doing great. She was doing okay. Was just kind of going with the flow, and finally, I think it's when her body, from the neck down, not being able to really feel, have feelings or not know that you're moving, really. That's when she started getting a little kind of worried. So I was finally able to kind of get in there and keep her calm and relaxed, and the doctors and the nurses were really amazing, helping out. And the nurse kind of explaining what was going on the whole time. Just so happened to be the anesthesiologist who administered the epidural as well.
The person who was explaining not the nurse.
The person, excuse me.
There you go.
Excuse me.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, they started doing their thing, and finally 10:30, the night of the 4th, Star Wars Day, yes. Mazie was born. Let out her first little cry.
Yeah. During the C-section, when they were rolling me back, my goal was to keep my eyes shut because if I saw anything, I knew I would be too scared. So I just kept my eyes closed. They got me all ready, got me back there. Like Tia said, they administered the anesthesia. But the thing that kind of triggered me to start freaking out was the anesthesiologist was like, okay, you need to breathe. But I couldn't feel myself breathing, and so it felt like I couldn't breathe. And then I was kind of freaked out about that. Also, when you're giving birth or just in, when you're in that setting, I don't know the logistics of it.
Your body was numb. You couldn't...
But it started to shake. And they strap you down so that you can't hurt yourself or anyone around you. That also freaked me out. But the final thing that really, really, really freaked me out is, like Tay said, they were getting it all ready. And they were saying, okay, we're ready to go. We're going to start soon. Here we go. And Taylor wasn't there yet. Right? Yeah, he wasn't there yet. And so I instantly started, crying and really, really, really scared because, no, you can't start yet. He's not here yet. So, during the whole C-section, the thing that kept me going was Tay being a foot away from my face and just telling me, it's okay. We kind of joked around a little bit and shared some of our little inside jokes to calm me down. And honestly, he just made it all that much better and really brought me back to earth and brought me back to focusing on what we're doing and that in the end we're gonna have our little girl. And she was here. That first cry made me cry because I was so scared that it wasn't gonna happen.
Your face just lit up. Mm-hmm. Kind of jolted and perked up when you heard little Mazie cry.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was really, really cool.
Then they got her out and they're like, okay, she's here.
First words, everybody said, oh my God, look at that hair.
Yep. So, our little furry baby was born. And they weighed her, and she was 8 pounds 9 ounces. Measured her. She was at 21 inches.
It was a big baby.
She was a big baby.
And I don't totally understand the measurement. They said it's all the way around, but I don't see how that's the case. Her head is 14 inches.
Yeah. So, according to our doctor, if we had gone through all the processes to get to labor...
Before that, they had a problem. The incision size that they made, which is a pretty standard size, they had to push pretty good to get Mazie out of that.
Yeah, she got stuck.
She got stuck for a second, so big baby.
Yeah, but our doctor literally said, if you did go through all those hoops to get to finally pushing for labor, she wouldn't have fit.
She probably wouldn't have come out.
That is what they said.
Yeah.
That is what they said. So, in the end, we have our beautiful Mazie Kate.
And she was in the video earlier.
She was in the video earlier.
With our little bundle of joy. We'll take more pictures and videos with her.
Yes.
But right now we're trying to just let her sleep and do her thing.
But yeah, after that, did they give her to you to walk her back, or did a nurse carry her back?
Nope, they got her all cleaned up, did the measurements, checked on her, whatnot, and then I carried her back.
Yep, and then we were back in our room, and then we were a family of 3. Family of 3 little crucifix.
Yeah. Plus 2 doggos.
Plus 2 doggos. So that's our birth story. Thanks for watching.